Good evening, online audience, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about the leadership workshop that was conducted in the Philippines in December 2019. It's funny how the title of the workshop changed. It began as a leadership workshop, it then changed into being a study leaders workshop, then somehow managed to be eventually called the School of the Prophets. Regardless of what it was called, it was for me a most invigorating and enlightening experience. I went there as a teacher and I came away as a student. Anyway, the primary purpose of my visit to the Philippines was the co-facilitation with Brother David Carroll of a leadership workshop in Bugalian. This workshop was conducted over 2.5 days and it incorporated a 30-page workshop guide, which seemed to go down pretty well with the young fellows that were there. All up, there were 30 Filipino brethren drawn from 12 ecclesias along with some Australian visitors. When we sat down to develop the workshop, we took a slightly different angle to what was originally imagined. Now, rather than exclusively look at study techniques and presentation skills, we decided to explore what the Bible has to say about leadership. And this was, for some of them, quite confronting in regards to cultural issues and so forth. And we asked the participants who they perceived to be great leaders. And we got all sorts of names. Ferdinand Marcos, Rodrigo Duterte, LeBron James, Barack Obama, to name a few. Donald Trump and Scott Morrison didn't get a mention for some reason. We then asked them to talk about the characteristics of these great leaders. Why did they perceive them to be a leader? And next we considered biblical leadership, what the Bible says about leadership. And we focused on the example of Moses. And the contrast was evident, and they got it. They understood what we were talking about. And we were hoping that the lessons were learned from the sorts of things that we were bringing up. The point we were trying to make is that anybody can be a leader in an ecclesial sense. Good biblical leadership can be applied to anybody. And if you aspire to more prominent roles, then that should be a foundation as to how we conduct ourselves in our ecclesial activities and in our ecclesial circles. After that, after we established leadership, we worked on study techniques as well as presentation skills. For example, the workshop guide on page 24 outlined 3 simple principles for effective Bible-based presentation. We explored principle 1, know what you're talking about. Principle 2, does the Bible say that? And principle 3, what does it mean to your audience? And complementing the workshop and the work that we were doing, a meditation and 5 short talks on various Bible leaders were conducted by the workshop participants, and these were interspersed throughout the program. The workshop concluded with each group giving a presentation that was critiqued by the conference facilitators and assisted by Brother Julius Bilmadilla, who could also provide Filipino translations where necessary. What were the standouts to me? Well, clearly the enthusiasm of these young brethren. They threw themselves into the activities. There was no holding back, there was an eagerness to learn, and they worked very cooperatively with each other. A post-workshop survey was conducted and a number of expressed disappointment that we were unable to cover all aspects of the provided workbook. We simply ran out of time and felt that we needed to give them more time to prepare for their presentations. And by the way, their presentations were very well done. After the final presentation, we had an awards ceremony that was a bit of a hoot really, and completed our workshop with a workshop dinner and an activity at a nearby beach. My overall impression is that the workshop was a success. After the workshop they all moved on to the youth conference, but that's a story to be told by Brother Warren Witherton. What I did notice, because I attended the youth conference purely as a non-contributing visitor and eventually as the official photographer, was how these young brethren who attended the workshop were very active in the study groups that were being conducted. Now I don't know if the workshop specifically contributed to the way they conducted themselves, but it was just wonderful to see them so actively involved. I left the conference just before it finished, as I had flights booked to return to Sydney, and in doing so missed out on receiving a thank you card signed by the workshop participants and a few others. So I received a virtual copy of it, and I told the brother when I received it that I really should have been sending them a thank you card. It was really a valuable experience for me. Would I do it all again? In a heartbeat. Thank you very much.